how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today I'm really excited because we're going to be taking a look at an all-time horror classic, and that is Salem's Lot from 1979. This is directed by Tobe Hooper, who would make other horror classics like Poltergeist and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and the movie stars David Soul, Lance Keruin, Bonnie Bedelia, and James Mason. This was of course based on a novel by Stephen King, and I think this was only his second ever novel and his second ever adaptation, and I think this probably went a long way into establishing Stephen King as such a recognizable brand. First you had Carrie, and now you have an adaptation of Salem's Lot that's super scary. Yeah, this really did help his early career. And talking about Stephen King, this also established another Stephen King trope of the two-part made-for-TV miniseries. Stephen King books are usually pretty thick, and to be able to have closer to 3 hours instead of an hour and a half really does give you a whole lot more time to sink your teeth into the story and really get to know what's going on. There's a reason we'd get a whole bunch more of these like It and The Stand. It's just a formula that works really well for Stephen King, and in fact, horror on TV back in those days was a lot more rare, and seeing such a successful made-for-TV miniseries would open the door to do a lot more made-for-TV horror later, so that's super cool. And boy, was Tobe Hooper the right choice to direct this. If you're familiar with Hooper's work, Chainsaw or The Fun House or Eaten Alive, you know that he likes to do rundown Americana, and to get to see Salem's Lot as a small town in the middle of nowhere, literally getting eaten up by vampires, it really does play into Hooper's strengths. When you see his take on the Marston house, you may remember his take on the Chainsaw family house, and when he puts a vampire on screen, he doesn't have to cut away or hide it. These vampires are definitely living corpses, and you just get a sense of dread looking at these things. Absolutely downright creepy. Now I will say, because this is 3 hours, it is a bit of a commitment, and it does start a little bit slow, but it is all very intentional. You get to know the town, you get to know the characters. It's a whole town, so there's a lot of characters. And you get, from early on, the seeds of horror being planted. It takes them a while to say the word vampires, but we get hints at the horror to come really early, and then it gets bigger, and eventually there's not many humans left in this small town, and things definitely start to boil over at the end there. This is grungy, this is downright creepy, but it's also a story that really pulls you in. Salem's Lot was an early Stephen King classic, still one of his best, and if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. Super creepy, and I can definitely recommend it. But all that being said, I do want to talk a bit about the movie in more specifics. I'm going to be avoiding the end, so no major spoilers, but from here on out, I want to talk about a few plot points and break down and analyze a few things. So I won't ruin the end, but from here on out, let's do a bit of a deeper dive. We open up meeting Benjamin Mears. He's a writer who used to live in the small town of Salem's Lot back when he was a child. And yeah, a writer from Maine, we would definitely see this Stephen King archetype pop up a lot more in future stories. But the reason why Ben wants to come back to Salem's Lot is because he wants to rent the Marston house. The Marston house is a haunted house in Salem's Lot that over the years horrible things have happened in, and the house seems to attract bad people. He had an experience there seeing the ghost of old Hubie Marston, and boy, when we get that scene later in the movie and he tells us his ghost story, that is a great speech from an actor. I absolutely love that. However, Ben is a little disappointed. A mysterious man beat him to renting out the old Marston house. Yeah, it was abandoned for decades, and now two people show up at the same time wanting to rent it. The guy who's running the house is named Stoker, and he's an old man who's looking to set up an antiques furniture business in Salem's Lot. His business partner, Court Barlow, has been unseen by the whole town. He says, "He'll get here soon, don't you worry," but having Barlow be this mysterious presence who no one ever sees really does build up the dread, and even though the movie doesn't say which role each character's taking, Dracula fans can definitely see where this story's going. And let me tell you, even when he's not doing anything downright creepy, James Mason has a presence, and he's absolutely awesome in this role. But as I said, Salem's Lot is about the town, and we do get a lot of people. Ben goes to a boarding house. We get to know the woman who runs the boarding house, her ex-husband who's the town drunk but is still staying there, the local cop, the gravedigger, even the guy at the realty office is having an affair with his secretary, and that will be a bit of a subplot, these two sneaking around. But of course we will get two bigger characters coming out of all this. We get Mark, a young boy who's a horror fan. He has all his models and posters and he knows magic tricks. He's a really cool young protagonist hero, and of course being a horror fan, he's going to have some vampire lore ready. And then we also get Susan, a potential love interest. And she also has an angry ex-boyfriend that's going to cause Ben some problems there. Everybody has their own little thing going on, and we really get to know and care for and understand what makes a lot of these characters tick. The story is about the whole town. But as we learn about them and as we follow all their dramas, the horror starts to pick up. The horror starts just with the haunted house and its legend, and then Stoker coming in, but then really quickly we get things like a child getting kidnapped, and later that child returning to his brother's window. Clearly something's happened to him. He does not quite look all there, and we get one of the creepiest scenes in horror movie history. We also get a scene where they're bringing in a crate to Stoker, and you can only guess what's in that crate, but the movers have to bring it down into the creepy basement, and slowly all these people start to get picked off one by the vampires, and somewhere along the line, Salem's Lot has more vampires in it than humans. And the characters don't see it right away. It takes them a while to even say the word vampire, but when they do, how do you plan for this? This isn't one of those vampire movies with just one vampire. You have a big problem on your hands, because by the time you notice it, the vampires have already spread too far. It's going to be hard to get the town back. And boy, when you get to the point of the climax of this movie, it is absolutely so earned. The Marston house is super creepy, and you can definitely see this is the guy that gave us Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because the Marston house is super creepy, just like the Sawyer house. Overall, this is definitely a classic. The horror and the grunge is on screen, and done so beautifully. The pacing, while it is slow at first, it does continually give you these breadcrumbs and show you the horror is coming, but not just coming, but growing. And you get so invested in these characters, and because there are so many, some of them are going to not make it. And there's weight when they get picked off, but again, not just picked off, but turned. And boy, do things get bigger and so much more desperate by the end. Overall, I absolutely do love Salem's Lot. It's not just one of the best Stephen King two-part miniseries, but one of the best Stephen King adaptations overall. It's one of Tobe Hooper's best films. It's one of the best horror films of all time. Love that grunge, love the absolutely terrifying vampires, and while yeah, it is 3 hours and that's a bit of a commitment and I don't always have time to just throw this thing on, if you do have time, this is such a great way to sit down and spend an afternoon and get super invested in something. Overall, yeah, Salem's Lot is a classic. Definitely check it out. Super cool, and a strong recommendation from me. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more videos kind of like this, you can click right there and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.